What do you think about the playoffs in the current format?
I'm a big fan of it. And listen, I struggle with that sometimes because I am a traditionalist and I have a lot of kind of old school tendencies. But as a storyteller and really as a fan, I look forward to these final 10 weeks so much because there are so many storylines and the intensity of every lap. And I remember back when we had the old chase format, it still felt procedural. We're still points racing. And I know there's a lot of fans who miss the old points racing, but the value of a win has never been higher at the highest level of the sport. And the things that encourages drivers and teams to do to win races is something that we all benefit from. We do not have the Ross Chastain move last year if it's not for that. We don't have some of the aggressive tendencies on restarts if it's not for the value of a win. And I think it makes the final 10 races so exciting.
Well,
Freddie, how nervous were you?
It was very stressful last 100 and 150 laps, whatever it was.
Because basically, if you don't wreck and you finish top 15-ish, you're okay.
We had a 4-point buffer pretty much the second half of the race. And,
That's
there's a restart where we lost a couple. And we had like a 7-point buffer, and there's a restart where we lost 3 spots right off the bat. Like, we got stuck in a bad lane and lost 3 spots. And you're at that 7-point buffer, you're like, we're pretty good. Then all of a sudden you lose 3 spots, you're like, well, now we're only 4 to the good. And credit to, Bubba just did a good job of staying patient. There was one time where we got into a little bit of a shoving match with Larson, and I'm like, just let him go. Like, he does not matter to us, just let him go.
Once we got position on him, he rolled over and let us go too. But you could tell he was in a finish the race mode. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what.
That's a nerve-wracking mode when you can't go out and attack and race.
Yeah.
And I've been in it, and we've all been in it if we've done this long enough.
You're holding your breath for 100 laps. Like, please, no caution. Like, because then, I wasn't so worried about it, but then you get to a point where, Harvick was so many laps down that he really wasn't a concern for me. It was more Ricky Stenhouse, honestly, because he was running well. He was in front of us, and if we ended up, where my concern came in was we got lapped and he hadn't gotten lapped yet. So now that puts us on a lap with 4 or 5 other guys behind us that we can lose positions to. Yeah. That Ricky, he's not,
can't catch anybody.
And we can't catch anybody.
Yeah.
So that was when we got lapped and he hadn't been lapped. I was like, okay, we don't need a yellow, please, no yellow. And luckily, I figured the yellow was coming because Denny was leading, and I feel like he gets a caution at the end of the races all the time.
A bunch of stories. Matt was talking about stories. Martin Truex, with a huge point cushion going into round 1, barely gets out of round 1. He's the biggest winner.
Yeah. Well,
he's the biggest winner from last week.
This is what we talked about last week with all these people. Everybody was coming on us last week about the regular season champ needs a bigger advantage. He should have got a bye through the first round. Yada yada yada.
He did.
He did. If he didn't have that point cushion, he wouldn't have made it. And now look at him; he's the damn point leader again.
He finished 18th, 36th, and 19th. Like, he had a terrible round. Yeah. Gets out. Now he's right back in the butt. But I want to talk real quick about the 4 that got cut out. No surprises. Stenhouse and McDowell are out.
Listen, they ran phenomenal Saturday night,
right.
Both of them.
Yeah, they did what they could.
Yeah. But just if you start round 1 and you say these 2 guys are going to be out, you're going to be like, I'm not surprised. Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, former Cup Series champions, both out. Surprise factor there.
So to me, and it goes back to what I said about this format, is the biggest complaint that fans give me all the time is, the only races that matter are the final 10, and that's not true. Every single stage, the stage points that you get, the stage playoff points, it does not surprise me that the 4 and the 22 are out because they did not have the regular season to give them the buffer that the 19 had. And that's really what it came to in that last race, is that the success that Martin enjoyed in the regular season gave him the buffer and the cushion he needed to advance. And to me, that is the best of both worlds between a season-long format and a playoff, and it rewarded him for that season.
And you talk about the stage points. That's the reason we transferred. That first stage, we were committed. We seen the 6. We talked about the 6 doing it last year. We're committed to staying out the whole first stage. Like, we're just,
So we did.
Take the points.
You're staying out, and you're going to shuffle. If there's no caution, you're going to run. We were going to run probably 8th or 9th, get a couple points, whatever it was. But at the same point, the 22 and 4 were not going to get points. They were starting too deep in the field. So we're just, all right, we're going to bump ahead, stay, and then we got a caution. We stayed out. Another caution. We stayed out again. And we ended up finishing 2nd or 3rd in that first stage. That's 8 points. We made it by 4. That was the difference in us making it and not making it right there.
Yeah, we did the same thing. We stayed out just to get a little more buffer. I mean, we had a way bigger buffer than you, obviously, but I think at the end of that first stage, we were at like 40 points or something like that, which was...
I just think if I'm the 22 team, I thought I could win this championship. If I'm the 4 team, I don't think they ever thought that. I think they were more realistic of, man, let's get Kevin a win in his final 10 races and send him out a winner, because they certainly deserve that. Obviously, Rodney and Kevin are great guys, big time racers. But I think if I'm looking at it from their team's perspective, I think the 22 is like, oh, well, we're screwed. This sucks.
I mean, Chris Rice picked him to go to the Final Four.
And I think the 4 is more like, hey, turn the noise off. Go out and win a race in these final 7.
I think Kevin said that, right?
He
I
said,
seen an article.
we had
He
no
said
chance.
yeah, we had
So
no
it didn't
chance.
matter. Like, what doesn't matter? We didn't transfer because we weren't going to win. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corey Lajoie loses control of his car and starts a wreck that took
Spot
out
on.
defending champ Joey Logano, eliminating him from the playoffs. Freddie.
Why would you say that?
Spot on.
What?
How about I seen people listen? This is I love NASCAR Twitter because they make me laugh. I did see one yesterday that obviously this was intentional. Corey did this on purpose because him and Bubba are friends, and what impeccable timing on Corey's part to be able to spin out, hit that wall, and time it just right so he can come back in and knock the whole rear end out of the 22 car. Obviously.
Corey and Joey are friends.
Yeah, allegedly. Must not be as good as him and Bubba. He didn't ride to school together. Listen, spot off. You hate to see this decide. And listen, Corey was very fast. Qualified top 10, got track position, led. He didn't win the stage, right? I think Bell got him at the end, but. He had speed, and sometimes you see this mistake happen with Corey, especially when he's running well. He can overstep at times, and this looked to me like he maybe clipped the apron off of 2. He was trying to make it 3 wide on Jones, which probably wasn't necessary at that point in the race. It was so hard to pass. Like we had we knew our strategy was, we're going to forfeit track position in that second stage because we're going to have to stay out to chase stage points. We're going to restart in the 20s somewhere, especially. And then that late caution in that first stage really put it to where guys were going to be able to flip it, and that was going to be in a deeper hole to come out of. So I don't even know where we were running at that time, probably 17th, 18th. We were right behind him. And, we're like, where are you going? Like he tries to make it 3 wide, clips the apron, gets loose, chases it up into Jones, ends up spinning himself, and then he, like we talked about, hits that inside wall and kind of catapults back across. But it sucks, just wrong place, wrong time for Joey. But it didn't really hurt my feelings a lot.
So I'm spot off for the 22 because that's super unfortunate. But again, from a storyline and drama standpoint, that's what you sign up for in this format, right? To me, the most remarkable thing, the most memorable thing about that entire thing is that Joey came in to do his post availability for his check-in, and he was in disbelief. He could not believe that had happened. We were asking him questions about, now that you're going to be eliminated, and he keeps looking up at the TV screen just to see if he's not still 34th.
Anyway, yeah.
Like, is 33rd, 32nd, can this happen? And he's like, I still think there could be a way, and there wasn't. And so in that moment, it's so obvious to me, and we want to share this with fans at home, how much he cares, how invested he is. And this format, I think, shows you how much the championship and advancing means to these teams. And that part of it's spot on to me.
Yeah, we talked about this last week, Brett, on this show. Like, somebody is going to have trouble, and a lot of times at Bristol, it's not of your making. It's get collected in somebody else's issue.
It's easy there at Martinsville, obviously Talladega, Daytona. But I was looking at Joey Logano's lap sled after you brought that up, Matt. He's led so far this year the least amount of laps he's led in the last 8 years. Now, clearly, he's got 7 more races to go out and do it. But he's on pace with 260 laps led. I mean, those big years for him, he was leading over 900. So we haven't seen him or realistically any of the Fords other than RFK up front a lot, the second half of this year. So it does suck for him, and it sucks for his guys. But I'm going to tell you something, man. I think Corey Lajoie, I think his world's about to change because, he got an opportunity to get in that 9 car. Great opportunity to go out there and showcase how fast he is. But he hasn't ever had a teammate put pressure on him like it's getting ready to happen when we get to 2024. I don't think he's on the hot seat, but we've seen drivers look good drivers. I mean, you look at Eric Jones's, Ricky Stenhouse's. I mean, there's been big-name drivers that we've seen get on the hot seat. I think next year, if he doesn't go out here and really – because he's the veteran. He's the one with all the experience. He's been at Spire, 4 years? He's got to go out there and be the Spire A driver. And if he's not – I think he gets on the hot seat for 25.
And that team is investing a lot. They've got the Gamebridge money coming in now. The expectation is to no longer be 20th to 25th. They're now in that 15th playoff contender kind of mode. And as a veteran driver, to me, if I'm Corey Lajoie, it's a playoff or bust season next year.
Wow, that's a big statement. And, like, listen, I love our playoff. I get the significance of it. I don't think making the playoff is elite. I think our round of 8 is elite. I think that's our best legitimate 8 teams, 8 drivers that are out there. Playoff or bust for Lajoie.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow,
I
that's
like
big. Big statement.
TJ, anything to add there?
They kind of covered everything. I'm
that. He
spot
was
off.
clapping and cheering. It was weird.
Yeah, you hate to see it. Well, I mean, seriously, you don't want to see people. Listen, this is why.
This is like last week when you were an asshole to Casey and you were trying to act like you weren't.
I wasn't mean to Casey.
Look who's talking.
I don't. This is why, like, Joey's had a rough season. He hasn't had a lot of speed at times. And how many times have we said, "Oh, well, Paul pulled a rabbit out of the hat" numerous times this year, and that doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room in this scenario. So if something happens, this is where you get bid. I mean, you just can't afford it.
If TJ doesn't like a driver, he gives a lot of innuendos.
He's
that he,
very condescending.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, it used to be Denny. You know, he used to be such a dick to Denny on here. Now
Still
it's-
am.